Fulcrum, 25th of September 2023, party-to-party ties between Communist China and Vietnam, hopefully a sturdy bond. China hopes that the communist regime will resist Vietnam's 3,000-year-old hostility. During U.S. President Joe Biden's visit to Vietnam earlier this month, the U.S. Vietnam ties were upgraded from a comprehensive partnership to a comprehensive strategic partnership. This move has raised questions about how Hanoi manages the complex dynamics between the United States and China. However, China expects that the solid party-to-party connections underpinning their alliance will receive some attention. Vietnam cannot get too close to the United States since both nations emphasize having solid party-to-party links. There is a brief historical overlap between the Communist Parties of Vietnam, CPV, and China, CCP, in opposing foreign invaders and Western imperialists. For its political benefit, the Mao Zedong-led CCP gave the CPV material, political, and ideological backing in its fight for independence from the French. This assistance was significantly increased when the CPV was battling the Americans. To remain pertinent to the requirements of the two nations, their party relationships have changed over time. Vietnam looked to China as a model when it started its open door and reform strategy in 1978 and its DOI reforms in 1986 to test a market economy. Given that the majority of their ruling communist parties are imposed upon the populace, China and Vietnam have a stake in seeing to it that they continue to rule and maintain their domination. They have emphasized the significance of enhancing experience sharing and reciprocal learning to achieve this. To benefit from one another's experiences, they have formed a high-level party platform co-chaired by a member of the political bureau from each side. They have conducted 17 workshops since the early 2000s on various topics, including managing agriculture, rural areas, and farmer concerns, combating the 2008 financial crisis, enhancing social governance in the information era, and fighting corruption and party building. The CCP and CPV aim to improve ideological legitimacy and fortify party institutions through exchanging knowledge. Party-to-party interactions also play a crucial role in establishing the general parameters of China-Vietnam relations. The CCP and CPV set the general orientation, mood, and even fields of bilateral cooperation in joint statements released following each high-level party exchange. The two nations have depended on party connections and strained relations to contain disagreements and restore goodwill. August 2014 saw the dispatch of Special Envoy La Hong An, a member of the Politburo, by Vietnam's General Secretary Nguyen Phu Trong to Beijing in an attempt to repair relations after the heated standoff over the Haiyang Shai U-981 oil rig incident. Yu Zhengsheng was sent by Xi Jinping to Vietnam in December 2014 as payment. Yu's position as the fourth member of the CCP hierarchy suggested that relations between China and Vietnam had improved. The government-to-government contacts between the two countries are not at the same level of interaction as the frequent high-level exchanges between the CCP and CPV. Nguyen Phu Trong, the General Secretary of Vietnam, has visited China 3 times since Xi Jinping assumed the position in 2012, in April of 2015, January of 2017, and October of 2022. The October 2022 visit is noteworthy because it was meant to fulfill Nguyen Phu Trong's pledge to Xi Jinping to visit China for the first time following his stroke in April 2019 and his re-election as General Secretary of the CPV in January 2021. The trip was in retaliation for Xi Jinping's November 2017 travel to Vietnam, when Xi had decided to go abroad immediately following his re-election as China's General Secretary. In November 2015, Xi visited Vietnam and was invited to return in 2023 to commemorate the 15 years of the China-Vietnam Comprehensive Strategic Relationship. The CCP and CPV have vowed to work together more closely to combat the risks of color revolutions and peaceful evolution, which are encouraged by foreign and democratic forces. The American story of democracy versus autocracy offers more grounds for deeper ties between the CCP and CPV. China has warned Vietnam before not to allow itself to be duped into thinking it is safe when nations such as the United States try to work more closely with the CPV while simultaneously waging a vicious campaign against the CCP. It further stated that as the Communist Party of Vietnam leads Socialist Vietnam, the U.S. aggressive strategy against Socialist China presents long-term risks to Socialist Vietnam. The criticism of China's and Vietnam's human rights records by Western nations, which both view as meddling in their domestic affairs, is a linked topic. In an attempt to frame its relations with the major countries within a Chinese framework, Vietnam welcomed a desperate senior party delegation from China a few days before strengthening ties with the United States. Vietnam should prioritize maintaining positive relations with China, even though there are valid reasons to move closer to the United States in light of China's aggressive and hegemonic moves in the South China Sea. China's more measured response to the official improvement of U.S. Vietnam ties may stem from its awareness of Vietnam's position. Vietnam was warned by the spokeswoman for its foreign ministry to prioritize the China-Vietnam Comprehensive Strategic Cooperative Cooperation and ensure that the growth of Vietnam-U.S. ties does not negatively impact any other party. Beijing doesn't seem to be confident that it can use the party channels to exert some leverage over Hanoi when the chips are down. Party connections with China are advantageous for Vietnam, but Hanoi has demonstrated that it will not remain silent when its national interests are violated, as it did in 2014.